I would like to bring up our chairman for the month for programs, Keith Huff.
We're making good time, so hopefully you guys are ready to talk. You guys are making time here. Excellent. So this afternoon, I asked a couple of representatives from the county building and planning department to make a presentation to the club. There's been a number of exciting things happening at the department. I happen to chair the Building and Planning Advisory Council, which is a citizens group working on a number of issues. That group has existed for at least a decade now. And a lot has changed since that group was formed by the commissioners to help reform that department. And so I think it's really important, and I'm happy to have our two guests to kind of speak to some of those things. And I'm sure that they'll probably have some statistics and other fun stuff for you. Our two guests are Mike Wilson, who presently is serving as the building official and the fire marshal for Cowles County. He is a resident by way of California, and that's okay because there's a number of us in the room that are the same, so you won't get too much trouble there, right, George? The professional and educational experience in business and public administration. He has been a contractor, licensed contractor in California, Oregon, and Washington, so he understands the private sector side. Process certification issued by the International Code Council in major categories for building and fire code administration and inspection, including certified building official. He began with Cowles County in 2002 in the position of a building inspector. He advanced to plans examiner, then leads plans examiner. That gave him time to become familiar with the climate needs of the community. This time and experience is found to be most valuable in service of his current position. And our other guest is Molly Gonzales. She is the operations manager for the Cowles County Building and Planning Department. She's born and raised here in Cowles County. Began working for the county in 2005 as a legal assistant at the prosecuting attorney's office. She moved over to building and planning in May of 2010 as the department head secretary and promoted to operations manager in January of 2014. She is intimately involved in evaluating processes on a regular basis to make sure they are operating in the most efficient and beneficial way they can while still adhering to the regulations they're tasked to enforce. They are continuously looking for creative approaches to community outreach and to close the communication gap between government and the public. I personally have worked with both and find them to be professional, courteous, and have an understanding of the needs of the private sector, which is all too important when dealing with the government agency. So please, warm lines welcome for Mike and Molly. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Molly Gonzales. As he mentioned, I'm the operations manager for Cowles County Building and Planning. And thank you for having us today. I thought I'd go over with you some development updates that are going on around the county. There's some pretty exciting growth and development that we haven't seen in quite a while. So if you look at the blue building permit report we handed out, that goes over the permits that we've issued for the month of August, and it compares it to last month and last year. And as you can see, in August we issued 19 building permits compared to 7 last year. For the year so far, we're up to 113 building permits for single-family dwellings, and last year we were just at 91. In July alone, we took in 30 new applications for single-family dwellings, 5 of which were for a new subdivision coming in, but the rest were all new building permits for single-family residences. And then in July, we were at about 25 new applications. So we're seeing quite an increase compared to the past few years, which is exciting. We just issued the final plat for Silver Lake Village, so they will have 45 homes going in out in Silver Lake. They have 5 in now for plan review that they've applied for, so, and they're really rolling with their project. We also have Tulip Meadows in Woodland. It's another plat that will be being issued. It's out for SEPA right now, and they plan on building 25 homes. So quite a lot of growth. We also have 2 multifamily dwellings. They haven't applied yet, but we hear they'll be in the next 2 to 3 months, which is something we're really in need of around here. So that's exciting.
The hotel.
What's that?
The hotel.
Yeah, we've got the hotel, all kinds of things going on. So, and if you have any questions about the report, we can go over that. The other report that he handed out was for planning applications, and planning is the first step of our process. Before they can even apply for building permit, they have to get a planning clearance, which goes over land use, critical areas, shorelines, things like that. So in August, we took in 63 planning clearances that are in review right now that then will be flowing through to the building permit process. So that shows you there's still a lot going on. On the commercial side of things, as I'm sure you probably know, we have the Northwest Innovations, the Klamath Methanol project going on. The final EIS should be out by the end of the month, and then state and local permitting will follow. And as you know, that's a huge project for Cowlitz County. Millennium Bulk Terminal, the federal draft EIS, that stands for Environmental Impact Statement, where they evaluate critical areas and all kinds of land use issues, environmental issues. The federal draft should be out by the end of September, with the final draft hopefully out mid-2017. And then state and local permitting would follow after that. So the next couple of years are busy on the commercial industrial side. We also have 3 other good commercial industrial projects out in the works that should be beginning in the next 3 to 5 months. We're not able to talk about them at this point because it's still in the works and they don't want all the details out yet. But they're definitely going to be coming in the next 3 to 5 months. So lots of growth and development around. So with the rise in development, we decided to take a look at what we call our plan review process. That's when people submit for a building permit, it goes in and our plans examiners review it and we issue the building permit. And so we took a look at that to see if there was any way we could streamline anything or if there were any hang-ups that we could address. And one thing we found that was slowing things down for applicants was that sometimes we would take in incomplete applications at the counter, trying to provide good customer service and just get them in fast. But then down the road, there would be things like fire flow they weren't aware of or some other things that we still needed. So we have decided not to accept any incomplete applications at the counter so that we can catch those things up front, make them aware of any obstacles that may be in their path. So when we decided to do that, we realized that would probably put a kink in our customer service. So we created what we call our Development Resource Center, and it's kind of like an office, a completely quiet room that has all the forms, web-based access to all the resources they need to complete their application, so they can just sit in there, complete it before they leave, because we have been getting people from Portland, Prineville, Seattle, people from all over kind of coming in to submit, so they can't really drive back home and then try and submit it to us. So we have created that for them, and we've gotten a lot of positive response on that. And then the other thing that we've been focusing on are some of the common complaints and concerns that we get from citizens. I mean, we realize a lot of people don't like to come in and get a permit, and we want them to know that we're really not in an adversarial position, that we want to come alongside them and assist them with their projects. So we now offer staff consults where we sit down and meet with the applicants and go over the process and let them know anything we foresee that could be an issue and let them know the fees and go over the process with them to try and make that more clear. We have also adopted the Wildland Urban Interface Code that we refer to as the WUI, which Mike will go over, but that provides people a lot more options for fire flow, which was another huge complaint, the cost and time it took to provide fire flow to some of the larger homes in the area. So we've adopted that code, which makes a huge difference. And we welcome your feedback and anything you hear that you feel we can improve on or whatever, we'd love to hear. We also have a Cowlitz County, it sounds like you have something going on October 11th, but if you don't attend that, we have an open house from 4 to 7 at the Cowlitz County Expo Center, and it's the county as a whole, and then City of Kelso and Longview is also participating in that. So you guys are free, come on by. 4 to 7 on the 11th. That's all I have.
Hello, Mike Wilson, Cowlitz County Building Official and Fire Marshal. What she said, thank you. Well, thanks for your warm welcome. Feels like I'm speaking to friends, and hopefully I'll have to regard when we leave. So anyway, regulation. It's a kind of dirty word. No one likes to face the facts of it all, but it's a complex world we live in, and ever more regulatory. That's where we come in. The state requires that we enforce the code, and locally, Cowlitz County, our department, does the best we can to serve you to that effect. Historically, the county, from my observation, has been such that code enforcement was not something that was consistent. And this can be detrimental to the community insofar as you no longer rely upon us, and it impacts your property values, the well-being of your community far more than you may realize. And as Molly has laid out, we've made some changes. And hopefully those changes have been for the better. We seem to have indicators that tell us such. As she laid out, we have a process whereby we clearly understand what the applicant is intending to achieve, and we assist them through the process, because the code in itself can be very cumbersome, tangling, foreign to most people. And we're there to be your advocate in that case. We facilitate the process the best that we can. We can't design for you, but we review, and we can certainly advise. We are the experts in that field, and that's our place in this whole scheme of things. Many people have the opinion that building planning is an obstruction of the process, but keep in mind, it's necessary. We take for granted the success of building departments all over the country. However, success is measured in the fact that it's virtually invisible. For instance, how many of you, gave much concern to entering this building today? Probably nothing. In other countries in the world, that may be a big concern. You don't know how safe the structure is. Here, our success is measured by the fact that we have non-events. So it's a little bit different. But as I said, we're here to facilitate the process, make it easier for you. As we're moving forward today, as Molly said, we have many things going on and have accomplished. The Wildland Urban Interface Code that she mentioned is a big piece. Fire flow is always a challenge. Fire flow is that water supply necessary to provide protection for the community. It's the fundamental tool the firefighters need in response to whatever the situation is. However, we don't have a lot of pipes in the ground around here, not a lot of fire hydrants. We have a lot of outlying areas, lots of land. And as density increases, people find that it's reasonable to develop that land. So what do? You tell them no? No, it's not our position to tell people no, deny them the use of their property, which they lawfully established, purchased, and have plans for. So, we can take advantage of that resource. You have a lot of space that you care to use, well, maybe that space can be a consideration to offset the required fire flow. And that's what the WUI does, the Wildland Interface Code. It takes advantage of the resources that may be there present with your land and use that to mitigate the amount of water that's necessary. For instance, if you can separate your building from other buildings, from other combustible materials, trees, brush, whatever the case is, sufficiently such that your hazard, in code term, doesn't become a problem for your neighbor. And if that can be accomplished, we're most of the way there. People are willing to take the risk to build in these rural areas, and they feel it's their right to do so. We don't want to deny them the right. So as I said, if we can quantify that risk, if we can associate a value to it, if we can associate the protective or the mitigating factors such that the community is not in danger, then it's acceptable to all. So that's been a big component we found even at this early stage since implementing it at the beginning of this year to be very beneficial. It's allowed people to develop with less cost and to achieve the goals and intent of the code. As I said, we've adopted a new code beginning of January, the 2015 Washington State Building Code, which is the body of codes, that part of which is the fire code. And I'm happy to say there were no significant increases in fees. In fact, there were some reductions in fees, and we restructured the fees such that they're, necessary, but they're user-friendly. I believe if you go on our website, you find the schedules there. They're somewhat, hopefully, self-explanatory. If not, let me know. Maybe we can make them a little bit more so. But a lot of fees that are redundantly used with frequency, we itemize, quantify it. It's just individual fees associated with individual tasks that people can recognize. And we found this to be helpful as well. So, looking forward to the future, we take the cues from you. What do you need? How can we help you? The code's not going away, and let's face it, elections have consequences. How the regulations developed in Longview is going to come down to us. So, and as I said, we're here to help you with that process and facilitate whatever permits that you may choose to obtain. So, if you have any questions, all in that free to answer them. Otherwise, thanks for your time. Oh, there are hands.
Hey, this is an easy one. Okay, north of town of Kelso, McGee and Sons, I think it was McGee and Sons, built a big building on.
Yes, they did. Hill Road.
Okay, right where you drive in their driveway, they have a great big concrete
Cistern.
Yes. Now, if you were building a house out there, would you have to have one of those now?
Not necessarily. Now, keep in mind, theirs is a commercial facility, and the hazard associated with most commercial development is quite a bit more significant than that of a single-family dwelling. Because they're, it's a commercial endeavor. There's likely going to be commercial classifications of vehicle, lots of fuel storage, onboard fuels, machinery, any number of things. Anywhere from what is considered low hazard through high hazard. So the fire code associates a level of hazard with the development appropriately. In their case, the size and magnitude and intent of the project required X number of gallons of water, which obviously wasn't going to be provided through water mains, so they chose to store it on site. Now, for a single-family dwelling, as I said, we've adopted the Wildland Interface Code, whereby we'll take consideration of the types of materials in which the building is composed, if they are, fire or ignition resistant, how much space you have around the building, if you're capable of maintaining the landscape such that it's fire resistant. You know, firefighters look at the fuels, and if they're what they classify as ladder fuels, fuels that will act like a chain and, you know, deliver combustion from one place to another and do so rapidly. If we can do something to offset that, we can reduce significantly the amount of water necessary.
In reading this example of Joe, Joe's building a house on 5 acres of land. Is the hydrant a requirement that you can be building on 5 acres of land, or does the hydrant just have to be there?
In this brochure, it's shown as an option.
Okay, so you wouldn't necessarily have to.
Not necessarily.
And if you do, who pays for that? Does the county pay for that, or does the homeowner pay for that?
You have the honor of paying for that.
Yeah.
That's gonna build my next house.
No, but the point is, you may not need a hydrant. We successfully administer permits on houses where the fire flow is reduced to zero, simply because they've chosen paths of development that can offset the water requirements. Oh, there you go. I think environmental planning may have something to say about that, but I don't know. Yes?
I'm just curious if your department is aware of any projects that may either occur or continue at the Longview Y. Exit 36 area.
That's not my jurisdiction. However, yeah, and we're talking about, you know, state highway and so forth, and the planning may have some involvement with that, but not the building side of it. Yes?
Holly, how many lots are involved on Hall Road? And you also said there's another subdivision. Where is it?
The one on Hall Road is 45 homes, so 45 lots, and I believe they've started, are they?
Yes, we issued 6 building permits yesterday morning.
So they've started rolling. Tulip Meadows is in Woodland on South Pekin Road. I'm not sure if it's 1066 South Pekin, but I can verify that, but out there. So, yeah. We haven't issued a plat since 2013, so it's exciting.
Yes?
I have run into a couple of situations recently where somebody had a piece of land, and in order for them to change the use of it, they had to put a fire hydrant in, which I understand, you know, the use of fire hydrant. What I don't understand is why the fire hydrant has to be as expensive as it is, because both cases, it was in excess of $50,000 to get a fire hydrant installed. And I'm curious why, if they're forced to do that, I understand being, you know, change of use, they need to have a fire hydrant. I get that. What I don't get is why it has to cost that much.
Well, we have no control over the cost of things. You know, the cost is going to be what the contractor, you know, bids it to be. All I can speak to is the change of occupancy. There are many occupancy classifications, just say buildings, uses of buildings in the community, and especially older communities, which by today's standards are existing, but they're non-conforming to the present code. The law does not compel us, or I should say compel the owner to conform to the existing code as long as they continue in the use that it was established. However, if they choose to change that from, say, a store to a chemical manufacturing plant, now we're talking about something that's significantly different. And at that point of changing the occupancy classification, the code regards it as something new. Therefore, it is subject to the current code.
Right, I understand that point, that I get. I just don't understand why when they're forced to put a fire hydrant in, it has to cost at least $50,000.
You have to speak to the contractor. Now, keep in mind too, our department does not charge impact fees, as you find in other jurisdictions, other communities. we're not assessing value or fee for, say, connecting, or I should say, bringing your building into the community whereby it's going to make use of the road, this other infrastructure. Because we find, in most cases, the infrastructure is very lacking or non-existent. Therefore, it's not reasonable to charge an impact fee on that infrastructure. But it does place the burden of development upon the owner. The further away you move from development, you'll find that the land is cheaper, but it's likely that your cost of development is going to increase.
Could I have one of the tail tamers go get another mug? Tamers. Lion tamers, I do that. I got in trouble with Steve once. Paul's gonna get another one. Molly, thank you so much for coming. And Mike, you too. And in our mug, we always put a membership application because we hope that you like us. And if you need to lock into a service organization, we are a lot of fun. We're serious about what we do, but we like to have fun while we do it. So thank you very, very much. Appreciate your knowledge. Okay.